In this video I'm going to be looking at the latest track that I've just put on Soundcloud, which is a remix of Good Time Tonight by Anthera. I'm going to look at the sequences, some of the samples and some of the artistic choices that I've made in the track. Now I'm a huge fan of the original, and then I heard a Machina remix by somebody on SoundCloud or YouTube called D Project, and it was that remix that inspired me to do my own. So first things first, I'm going to look at the bass, which is comprised of 4 samples. First one is a Spanish bass, it's got a lot of top end, bit of a pan bass. Secondly, it's a Spanish bass, which I think I've heard on a Dr. Apparis and Galas track, but I took it out of Keenan sample pack, which is this one here. And this is quite a twangy elastic bass from a UK bound sample pack. And this is an Alan Aztec bass, which is very woody. And when you layer them together, it sounds a bit like this. My percussion for the track is the same as every other bounce track. A hi-hat loop, and I've added another layer of hi-hats here, as you can see, just to add a little bit more top end. You'll hear the difference when the sample starts to come in here. I think it sounds 10 times better, and I have actually muted the acapella for this video just so that YouTube doesn't delete the video because of copyright. Dropped into the bass, got a flat bass for the mix. With the classic club heads on, but I've pitched it up a little bit. Drops into the bass, which matches the vocal. And then this is the lead, which I've done on Nexus with one of the samples, one of the what's the word I'm looking for, presets that come with Nexus. Just wrote the melody sort of by ear. With it being quite a simple melody, it's easy to write. I mean, look at it, you just take the bass and you sort of build on top of the bass note. So this is the lead. Bit of reverb, bit of delay, bit of EQ. Building it up with a filter, the free one that come with FL, and I've cut up the lead here, added some scratch, some fills, reverse cymbals, reverse sweeps, and more cymbals up here, more crashes, sorry, and this is the drop. Then it changes into a flat bass, and I bring the vocal back in, and I'll loop the loops for the percussion. I've got a filter on to bring them back in, a bit more subtle than having a crash and just dropping it in. The reason why I chose this is because it sort of builds up to, so the audience, people in the club will listen and they'll realise that, you know, another drop's coming, because you could have 16 bars of just a flat bass, and the bass changes to match the melody. Now this is a different lead. This is also one that comes within the dance pack that comes with Nexus. It's called Beam World, the preset, and I just got bored and wrote this. I was too lazy to put an automation clip, so at the end I've literally done this. And you'll hear that at the end here. The reason why I've done this is because it sounds very space-like, very PPK Resurrection. Reminds me of a preset that was called Nebula on Silence before I uninstalled it. And I put this just as a bit of a change from the original melody. So this is the original, obviously, and then this is the new one. And it works really well with the vocal and the bass. The green I'll reference them with the colours. The green original melody and the light blue melody of mine work hand in hand. They work really well, so it suits the track, so I've left it in. My breakdown's got loads of sweeps, a sub kick, some crowd effects. These have got low strings here, and then some mid strings, high strings, and then the melody played on a piano with a ton of reverb. And the vocal comes back in here with more crowd effects, more cheering. So you get even higher strings, an octave higher, so it's like 4 octaves worth of strings, which is a really cheap way to add density to your strings. And as you can see, the vocals in the background, and then it will drop into a rim shot, and in the background of the rim shot I've got a dinky lead which follows the original melody, but of course it's filtered at this point, so let me play it with no filter on it. That's just the club head's dink, which has been pitched down and the waveform stretched a little bit. With the club head's air horn, the club head's dink, the the club head's long hoover woo, it sounds like this. And of course the iconic bounce reverb kick from the Vengeance pack. And then I bring the bass in, which is filtered and flat to create suspense, and it will change here. So this builds suspense. The dinky melody filter comes to 100%, and so does the bass filter. It comes up to 100% from like 10%. So it works hand in hand. I'll play it now for you. So if you remember that melody that I wrote with the square lead that sounded very space-like, I did another melody with the same preset, which sounds like this. Oh, of course, it's filtered. 1 second. Let me start it from here. Now, you can play it by itself and it sounds like this. The reason why this works so well, as you can see where my mouse is, this part of the melody matches this part of the bass, this part of the melody matches this part of the bass, so it works hand in hand. However, what I wanted to do was play it alongside the lead melody to sort of stack all the synths and just create more sound, essentially. And this is what it sounds like without percussion bass and effects. So this is what it sounds like. This is what it sounds like all together. Then what I did, which arguably took the longest part, was write this melody, which it's again the same preset. I don't know why I've called them all weird stuff like square, squeaky, and ignored all that nonsense. So this is the melody that I've wrote myself, which took probably the longest thing out of this track. Probably took like half an hour to write this. So if I play this a bit slower, you'll notice that where the smaller parts of the lead are, it's more clicky. So you've got long notes and short notes, and they work really well together. this where it goes. I think I'm going to change this to 2 clicks. Yeah, I like that more. So it's going to transition from both the Good Time Tonight melody and the melody that I wrote into this one melody by itself. And I'll put the vocal back in because I don't think YouTube will pick up on this part of the copyright, just so you can hear what it sounds like. And then I had a change in mind, which I'm going to do live on camera, on this video. I'm going to do it live. I'm not going to cut it and bring it back when it's done, just so I can show you like bits of actual production as opposed to breakdown. So what I'm going to do, which I actually did this, but then didn't save the file and switched off my computer yesterday. So just to add, because there's a huge drop here, so people will be building up, and then they start bouncing. People often want a break. If you've ever actually gone to a bounce event, which I have numerous, not only behind the stage with friends of mine that are DJs or MCs, just actually on the dance floor enjoying the music. So you'll notice that you can't actually bounce for long periods of time. You'll get knackered and you'll stop. So what I'm going to do here is cut the kick, move the air horn. Sorry, if I cut the kick, move the crash, move the sweep, cut the vocal, remove the bass and the hi-hat and this part of the fill and the cowbell and the vocal, it will focus on this lead. So it's the artistic choice is not to give people a rest on the dance floor. That's just to make it easier to break down on a video. The artistic choice is because you've transitioned from like a very thick lead. I don't mean thick as in there's a lot of keys. When I mean thick, there's a lot of there's 2 separate presets stacked on top of each other, so it can be hard to hear if they're not distinct. So it's going to go from these 2 to this one. So in order to get the maximum out of your transition, you don't just want a crash and some scratches. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to delete this scratch and I'm going to copy this scratch here. I know it's grayed out, so let me add everything back in. Cut the tail at the start, and I'm going to copy this part, which sounds like this. And then what I'm going to do, I'm going to play it all for you, because I've done this before, and I really, really liked it. And I'm sure you'll agree, it's a massive improvement. So what you do, you create a ton of suspense. Everybody's listening to just the lead, and when the bass and the cowbell and everything else comes back in, people still appreciate the lead. It's not just sort of lost in the noise. Another part of the melody where I want to make it 2 notes is let me play that again. It's here. Listen really carefully to the transition between a bass on every quarter to a bass on every third. If I play the third bass, the bass that's on every third, as you can see, it's off key, off beat, you will triplet beat, offbeat, bouncy beat, whatever you want to call it. This is what it sounds like to the ear. But you won't notice the transition unless there's a kick behind it, and I'll show you exactly what I mean now in this little exercise here. So this is how I transition from that, the quarter, to the triplet beat, because the triplet beat in bounce music is incredibly popular for like 8 to 16 notes. Take Fitzurosy Be Clubbed, Rhythm FX, I'm Gone. It is a powerful tool. A lot of hard dance can be triplet beat stuff. You look at Bass Hunter and stuff like that. However, it just mixes it up, and at the end of the day, it's called bounce music. So this is the easiest sort of style of music to bounce to, a triplet beat, because it gives a little bit of a gap between when your feet are touching the floor and when you're up in the air. Anyway, I'll play it so you can give it a listen, and the transition is these 4 bars here. So the track isn't finished, and what I'm probably going to do is do a miniature breakdown, or like literally 8 bars of breakdown and then a big drop. But I think with the big drop at the end, I'm definitely going to have cowbell, I'm going to have the new lead that I've done, and I'm going to add some vocal. So I'm not going to make this a 50-minute video and break down absolutely everything from my strings to my rim shots to my filters. Just wanted to just gloss over this, what looks like a lot, but in reality it's probably a couple of hours work, probably 2 hours, 3 hours work. Got any questions, just fire a message in the comment section. I reply to all the comments on the previous FL Studio videos, or if you send me a message on Soundcloud and I don't reply, it's because I genuinely hardly check it. So I hope you learned something, and I'll try and do a few more of these because videos like this are highly requested on Soundcloud. Take care.